finally, my first totem. Let me just equip it, and totem of lightning. What does that do? Wait, what? It struck lightning everywhere. Well, if you want to be able to make a custom totem like that, I'm going to show you how to make custom totems in Minecraft. Let's get started. So first we need to give ourselves the custom totem, and then we can start working on the code. Okay, so normally I skip this bit in the video because it's normally the same for every custom item, but for this one we're doing it a little bit different. So normally you just do something like lightning totem 1b, and then that would be your tag. But instead of that, we're going to do custom totem 1b, and we're going to have totem type of 0, and I'll explain why you need to do that later. In our code, we're going to do scoreboard objectives add use totem, and it's just going to be used totem of undying. That will detect for when we use the totem. And we're also going to add another scoreboard, which is going to be called whole totem, and it's just going to be a dummy. So in our tick function, we're going to execute as all players with scores of use totem of 1 or more, and we're going to run, say I used a totem, check this is working, and it says I used the totem. Obviously we need to set everyone to 0 so it doesn't spam. But the problem is, you can't detect what custom totem I was holding, or even if I was holding a custom totem, because as soon as you use it, it gets consumed from your hand. So what we're going to do is, after that, in the tick, we're going to do scoreboard players set at a hold totem to 0, and then we need to detect if they're holding custom totem. So what we're going to do is we're going to execute as all players with the NBT of inventory, then that is going to have a thing in it, and it's going to be slot -106b, which is the offhand. So we're detecting for the offhand slot, and it needs to have an ID Minecraft totem of undying, and then also it has to have the tag of custom totem 1b. So that will detect if they have any kind of custom totem in their offhand. If they have a custom totem, then we're going to store the result onto a scoreboard of that player's hold totem, and we're going to run data get entity, and then that player, the inventory, and then slot -106b, and then dot tag dot totem type. So that will get the totem type number that we set. Actually, we set that to 0, so we need to actually change that to be 1, because 0 means that it's not a custom totem at all. So that will basically get the totem type and store it onto the whole totem score. Now we also need to do the same for the main hand, and the reason we're doing the main hand afterwards is because if you have 2 totems, one in your offhand and one in your main hand, it will always do the one in your main hands. So we're going to execute as all players with the NBT of, instead of inventory, we're going to have it be selected item, no slot check, and here instead of doing this we get the selected item. But here, instead of doing all of this, we just need to check if they have a totem of undying in their main hand, because what that will do is, if they have a normal totem in their main hand but a custom one in their offhand, this 0 will overwrite this, whatever the custom number is, which means that it will then say that we don't have a custom totem in our main hand, and that's the one that's going to be used. So after that, it goes to the next tick and you use up the totem, but because we checked for the totem in your hand in the previous tick, it hasn't updated yet. So then this, instead of here, we're going to do a function, and it's going to be tutorial, because that's the namespace, and check custom totem. And then if the score is 0, then we can just leave it, but then execute if score as hold totem matches 1, then we will run a function, and it will be tutorial : lightning totem. Okay, so what we're going to do is tag @s add this, so you don't get struck by lightning. Then you need to do execute @s, and then at e distance equals less than 10, and tag equals not this. You probably also want to do checks for, like, you don't want to strike armor stand, boats, etc., but we won't do that right now. And we're going to run summon a lightning bolt, and then at the end we're going to do tag @s remove. this. Okay, so that is all the code that we need. Now if we go and reload, and let's summon a couple of pigs. There you go, it struck lightning. That guy was more than 10 blocks away, so it didn't work. And the reason that we're doing this check for the custom totem and the totem type here is because if we had, say, lightning totem, then you need to do lots of individual checks for each type, and then you have to check for like another type of totem. And if you have lots of custom totems, then this will get very laggy and you're using a lot of MBT commands, whereas this is like just 2 commands per tick. With that, you can just add another kind of totem. So for example, if we made a totem type of 2, and then in our check custom totem, we just copy this, we just change this to 2, and instead of running a function, we're just gonna run, say, custom totem type 2, and it says custom totem type 2. So yeah, that will allow you to really easily add as many types of custom totems as you want. If you want to learn how to make custom textures for your custom item, click this video here.